I think her name was Rick.
Yes, it was. It was from Oregon. Okay, very good. So we're moving into the next question. We already have a caller on the line. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, you guys can hear me well? My name is Isaac.
Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm calling from the Dominican Republic, actually.
Okay, very good.
Great.
Nice to have you here in Texas.
Thanks.
Great
first of all, I was kind of trying to make this call as a trial because I have a huge setup here, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get through, but now I know it works. So you guys will have a following from the Caribbean.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Thanks all for your work. I mean, I'm a groupie of the show and the rabbi, because I think the work you guys do and the work the rabbi does is just awesome. So I'm really thankful. One question I have is,
go ahead.
In an argument to justify the the storyline about the devil in the New Testament and all that, some Christians go back to the giants in Genesis as the fallen angels. I'd like to know what the rabbi's opinion is on that. It's kind of confusing to me. I can't get my head around it. So I'm going to hang up because it sounds really bad. I hope my question, and I'll just listen from the video on Google+.
You sound really good on our end, just to let you know. So that's great. Thank you, Isaac. We appreciate your support.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Shalom.
All right. So Isaac has called from the Dominican Republic asking about
very interesting.
About Satan, and the Christian concept of Satan is a free agent. We'll think about that in a moment. And first of all, I want to thank you, Isaac, for calling. And I want to the Dominican Republic has fabulous waters for scuba diving. And also, on behalf of Major League Baseball, I'd like to thank the Dominican Republic for supplying about a disproportionate number of fabulous athletes. I'm kidding about that part. I'm not their spokesman.
Sorry.
Okay, so.
Okay, don't forget to leave out not leave out the part about the Giants.
Okay, the Giants. So
thank you.
Actually, they're not giants. All these are really just rotten translations. First, the setup, Genesis 6. What are we encountering in this chapter? What is the function? What is Genesis 6 there for? Well, Genesis 6 is conveying to us why God destroyed the world, why the flood, which occurred in, I think, the year 1648 after creation. Why it occurred. So the first thing we're encountering, the first horrific sin, are those of the Nephilim. Nephilim. The word Nephilim does not mean giants. This is a word, both Nafal is a word that both in biblical Hebrew and in modern Hebrew means the same thing. And that means Nephilim, people who fell really bad. And why did they fall? What does this mean? These are people of enormous power, people of influence, people who had so much power that they were able to exploit those who were weak. And you guessed it. What did they do with this power? These elite men. Well, they raped women. They forced women who were weaker than them, that didn't have the influence that they possessed. They raped them and forced them to have children that these women didn't want to have with them.
Okay, so
and this was a.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're saying that the Nephilim were not angels, were not fallen angels.
No,
they're just normal.
I mean, think about this. The concept doesn't make sense because, as it turns out, if the Nephilim were angels, the word malach, angels, is not in this chapter. If they were angels, this would be the greatest injustice in human history. Because as it turns out, the flood did not affect angels. Just stop for that. That means, wow, that would be like a sickest Bible in the world. Oh, angels rape women. Well, that's so Zeusian. Zeus was, that's all he did, basically. is running around with everybody else's wife and looking for virgins to produce emperors of Rome, or to produce, Greek gods and Hercules and so on. No, if angels were the ones who were raping women, how crazy is that? Well, that means the Bible is a trash heap, because that would mean that they went around raping women and they weren't even punished for it. That means angels weren't affected by the flood.
Good point.
So what that would be insane. The whole purpose of Genesis 6 is to convey to us how depraved the world had become, how people have fallen to sin. So it begins with what we're seeing all around us, and that is men in a position of enormous power, abusing people who are weak, raping their bodies, using their bodies to produce children for their own pleasure and to produce children for them. And these women are being used. Like we see that going on in the Middle East, where they're taking people from the Far East, and these women, they're just raping them, and the human market, so that's what we're being told in Genesis 6 about. Genesis 6, we are told the first sin is described of people who were in a position of power. The literal B'nai Elohim, they're like people who really were powerful men. Okay. And they use that power for what? For good? No. There are people who are given that name who did use it for good. You'll find that in Exodus, the judges, people who taught Torah, they had that. They didn't exploit it, but these people did exploit their powers. Therefore, they went from up here and they spiritually went down here by defiling victims. And that is one of the series of sins that are outlined for us in Genesis chapter 6 that give us some sense of how depraved the world was, that the flood came and God would rebuild the human race through 8 people, Noah, his wife, and his 3 children and their wives. And that's what it is. So therefore, if it's a fallen angel, just think about it, it doesn't make sense. Then God's a psycho.
Right.
Because it means because the angel, so that means what is it? It's not just barbaric, it doesn't make sense. That means the whole function of Genesis 6 is God is saying, I'm going to punish these people who have committed these crimes, thievery, all this stuff. And then what? It introduces us to angels who actually are not punished.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I mean, beyond being, psychotic. I mean, what's tragic is there are a lot of atheists out there who think this. That means they're taught this concept of scripture, and that's what they're rejecting and becoming atheists. You want why do people become atheists? Because they really think, they're told, they're raised in the Anglican Church. They're raised in some kind. They go, angels, like God brought a flood and angels came down and had relations with women, raped women, and they weren't punished. Of course they become atheists.
Rabbi, you bring up another question. You were talking about Noah and his family. There's a tradition, a midrash on Og and how he. What's your thought on that?
I can't. There's a midrash that there was another survivor, someone who clung on to the side of the boat. It's important to understand that midrashic literature generally, it depends. There are different types of it. It's going. But here's the point. Midrashic literature uses parabolic language, and therefore it is not to be read like other sacred literature. It is not to be read in a hyper-literal way that Moses was 40 feet tall. That means that this information in the Midrash is very important. Our scroll has done a wonderful job of providing a commentary to help you understand what these parables are trying to convey, but it's a different genre of literature, and it's not to be taken to be read in the same. Just like the book of Proverbs should not be read like the book of Deuteronomy. Okay,
right.
When Proverbs describes wisdom walking down the street, well, wisdom isn't walking down the street. It's a different genre of literature. So therefore, these texts doesn't mean that that these things, none of it is literally correct, but this is a type of genre of literature that doesn't necessarily mean that we take it literally. It's just studied very differently. Like, as I said, as wisdom literature would be written. It's not a question of true and not true. It's just a question of what kind of grammar is it using? What do words mean? They mean something very different in different types of Midrashic literature.